is. That's the theme song, right?
I love that theme song so much. I wish that we could get into a professional studio and record it professionally so that it just sounds like professional quality.
We do nothing professionally. Hey, do you ever go through... by the way, I'm Jonathan Martin, the host of Game Life Balance. This is Cody Goff, the other host. Hope? There's no hope here. Of Game Life Balance. You're totally frozen.
What? Wait, what? What just happened?
Totally frozen. You froze. Everything froze.
Am I fine now?
Good start. Yeah, you're fine now. This is Cody Goff, the other host of Game Life Balance. I don't know if you heard me. My name is Jonathan Martin. This is Cody Goff. We are Game Life Balance, a podcast about trying to juggle busy life with video games and other stuff.
Well, that's in the intro. You don't have to re-say it because it's in the recorded.
Well, you can. I guess.
Yeah.
Do you ever go through like alcohol phases, like phases where you get like obsessed with, like you get obsessed with a certain drink or a certain type of drink or something? Like you go through like 2 weeks at a time where when you have your drink at the day, maybe you don't have a drink like at the end of your busy day.
I don't have a drink at the end of. I don't drink often. When I do, it's
kind of
when I drink, it's to get drunk, blackout drunk, make out with any attractive women nearby,
or men. I mean, you're not picky when you're drunk.
Mostly women, and have stories told about me, legends really. It's about it. And now that I have a girlfriend, it's less.
So that sounds really responsible.
Yeah.
So
I like drinking with college kids. That's my du jour.
Or high school. Or high school kids, right?
If they're old enough.
They'd have to be pretty dumb and held back for a while. So no, I'm referring to like, all right, like we in my household, you know, we'll typically do like the drink or two a night, a beer, something like that. And like there was a month-long period where all we had in the house was vodka tonic. Like we drank vodka tonics all the time. Don't know why. We just did. Like that was our drink. So I'm a pretty big beer guy. I like lots of different beers. And they kind of run the gamut from generally IPAs are typically my favorite. If I had to nail it down to one type of beer, but really the only beer that I do not enjoy are the very dark stout type beers, right?
Oh, so, like Guinness, stuff like that.
Yeah, it's just a little too heavy for me. That's not what I like my beer like. And so I've been drinking beer for a very long time. Like a beer has been that drink at the end of the night for probably a year or two, where I'll have a beer every once in a while, like maybe 3-4 nights a week, you know, have 1 or 2 or like 7 beers. Well, all of a sudden, when my family came into town a couple of weeks ago, we had this big bottle of red wine. I told the story about the podcast a couple of weeks ago.
Mm-hmm.
And ever since then, all I have wanted to drink is red wine. And this is the weird thing. Up to this point in my life, have never been a red wine guy. I've always been a white wine guy, like a very dry white wine. All of a sudden, I'm super into reds. So like I went out and had to do a liquor run because we were having some friends over this past weekend. And Casey was like, get a couple bottles of wine. I got like 6 bottles of wine, all red, all various types of red wines.
Various, so no favorites?
So Casey and I think our favorite just in general is a Pinot Noir. But we're drinking basically anything that's not sweet. We're not into sweet wines kind of at all, but otherwise, like if it's a red wine, it's on the table. So,
okay.
Yeah, I don't know. So like here I am enjoying my glass of red wine.
I've not had that. So what are you drinking now? A Pinot?
This is actually just a table wine. It's a blend. But generally, if like we're going to open a bottle of wine for us to share together, our favorite to open right now is a Pinot Noir.
Okay. Yeah, I enjoy blends. I enjoy Meritage, which I believe is a blend. Mm-hmm. And I enjoy like a Chianti is nice.
Chiantis are good. I actually like that too.
Yeah, it's I know it's my mom's favorite. I don't know why I know that, but I do. Well, probably because there's always stuff in my house.
It's because she's Italian.
I think a lot of wine's Italian, but yes, could be.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm bad with my wines. You know, I've got Untapped, the app that lets you check in your.
That's because we're young. We shouldn't be drinking wine yet. That's for old people that have money. We're not
Is it
those.
barefoot wine?
Yeah, well, that's a very fine wine. I can't afford that. I mean, I'm
Yeah.
typically going to the box.
$4? You
And I do that thing, and I do that thing where typically, generally we only have a couple of wine glasses because those are expensive too. And so most of the time I'm just opening up either the fridge or the cupboard wherever I'm storing my wine, and I'm going underneath the box and I'm just turning on the tap for a little while. And that's generally how I drink my wine.
That's horrifying.
Well,
Do you mix it with Mountain Dew?
That sounds like a nightmare.
See, that I would do. That was the thing back in college. Franzia, boxed wine, and Mountain Dew to make Winton Dew or Mountain Sangrua.
Yeah,
Mountain
Sangrua. I've heard of that.
Yes, it is delicious. In the last wedding I officiated, I toasted the bride with a nice glass of Mountain Sangrua. And it was a
moment. I think I'm just going to take your word for that. I think
it's so good. No. You know what? And I had our friend Russian John, who may be returning to the podcast soon. I had our friend Russian John try it once, and he said, "I hate you because this is actually really good." Mic drop.
Well, if a Russian said it was good, I mean, they're the utmost authority on alcohol, aren't they?
What I meant by mic drop is that if my microphone,
your friend Mike.
Well, he had to go. It was his time.
That's sad.
What can I say? It was past his time, in fact.
That's sad.
Yeah.
I can't believe you'd do Mike like that.
Rest his soul. I almost named my horse Mike in Legend of Zelda Twilight Princess HD.
Hey, we're going to talk about that, aren't we?
Kind of maybe near the end of the episode if we get there. We have other stuff to talk about, though.
We do.
First, that we're going to talk about. I'll talk about actually some stuff I've done in real life shortly. But right now, we have to be topical and timely and talk about current news. Or you can say it because it's your segment.
No, you already introduced it.
But
I can't introduce it twice. That would be silly.
You can do. I mean, I could.
Current news.
Did you put the mic in your mouth when you did that?
I mean, I could have.
That was. All right, can't wait to hear that one. When I'm editing and all of the,
fix it in post.
Fix it in post. All the waveforms. Yeah, I cannot fix that in post. There's certain things you cannot fix in post.
I'm sure you're great. You're gonna fix it in post.
Well, thank you for that vote of confidence. I blame it entirely on the wine, but there we are. So, the current news is: do you know there's a U.S. presidential election going on?
I participated.
It's almost as if that was my setup for your segue. Thank you for taking that segue, thus making this a smooth transition. This is the third sentence completing the paragraph.
So I live in Minnesota, and so we had our primary thing that happens because the Democrats and then the Republicans are like picking their candidate for presidency. For our overseas listeners, American politics is dumb. We use dumb systems to elect our leaders. We have a two-party system here, the Whigs and the Tories. The Whigs are worthless. Everybody knows that. The Tories know what to do.
Seriously, I think Tori won the women's championship at WrestleMania 18.
It's probably not spelled the same way. So there's Democrats, Republicans, and right now the Democrats are trying to figure who their candidate's going to be. The Republicans are trying to figure out who their candidate's going to be. And in the primary process, which I've actually never participated in, this was my first time. In the primary process, like every state gets to vote at different times, which is a little odd, but it makes sense. But every state gets to vote at different times.
Why does it make sense?
Over the course of the year. I was talking to somebody about this before, and suddenly it completely flew out of my head.
It does not make sense. It doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense.
Doesn't make any sense?
There's no reason. There's no reason why
there's a reason why primaries exist. Anyway, so these states go by like week by week. And it was Minnesota's week a couple weeks ago, and we were part of Super Tuesday, which is the first voting day where like multiple states vote on their candidate. And in the primaries, the Democrats, if you like declare yourself as a Democrat, you go to one place building, and if you declare yourself as a Republican, you have to go to another building. Um, and so you have to like know something about the candidates based on who you're going to declare for, right? Because like if you don't know anything, then you don't know which building you're supposed to go to. And frankly, why are you voting in the first place, I guess, if you like literally know nothing about any of the candidates?
We could
So
probably safely assume most people caucusing know which building they're going to.
I don't know. Maybe not. It was my first time doing
Dude,
it. Who knows?
in this country, yeah,
So-
you're right. At this point, I don't know.
So Casey and I both declared Democrat this year. And so we went to our caucus was at the high school in our city. We live in a city called Woodbury in Minnesota. Our caucus was in Woodbury High School. And so we decided we were going to make like a whole date night out of it. So we hired a babysitter. We hired a babysitter to caucus. We decided we were going to go like have a happy hour, which we never get to do. So we went to a happy hour after I got off of work. And then the caucuses, you had to pre-registration was from 6 to 7, and then you like the voting happened from 7 to 8, and then the count was done after that, and they declared winners for your precinct, whatever. So we went out and we got drinks and we got food, and it was like 6:20, something like that, and we were like, oh, we should probably go caucus. Like it's time to go because pre-registration is from 6 to 7. So we specifically picked a bar that was like a mile and a half from Woodbury High School because we wanted to be close. So we started driving down the road to get there, and there's one road that goes there. It's a 4-lane road, so 2 on each side. And we were about a mile away. We had kind of just turned on the road and gone maybe 3 blocks, and traffic just stopped. And we're like, what is going on? And keep in mind, it's like 6:30 on a Tuesday night, and traffic in Woodbury is never bad, ever. And we were like, is there like an accident up there or something? And 5 minutes later, we're like, holy crap! Like these are all people that are going to caucus. So we were backed up over a mile on this road of cars waiting to get into the high school parking lot. So we drove for a little while, got maybe half a mile away, and we were like, and cars were turning around and coming back, and we were like, there's no way we're going to be able to go park in that parking lot. And as we got a little closer, it was one of those things where kind of it cleared a little bit, and we were like a third of a mile away, but we could see the high school and see the parking lot. There was zero room in the parking lot. There were cars that were going in there, turning around, coming straight out of the parking lot. So we ducked off into a side street and drove down. We had to go down like a quarter of a mile just on this side street to find a place to park.
Wow.
And so, we're just in front of some random person's house, which I'm sure they're used to that kind of thing when a big event happens at the school. I'm sure they didn't care or whatever. Plus, we're on the road. We're on, public property. It's whatever. So
Was that your timer? Your time's up. You only have a certain amount of time to tell your caucus story.
we were like, holy crap. Like, this is an insane number of people. And so we had to walk. So we walked 15 minutes to get into the high school to where we could caucus. My wife, of course, didn't expect to walk. And so she was wearing like no socks and flats. And it was like 35 degrees because she thought we were going to be parking in the parking lot. Didn't realize there were going to be that many people. So we get into the school, and the way that Minnesota does it is, if you are like, our area served like 50 precincts. And so the school got divided into 50 precincts, basically, for the state. And so it was like, you need to look at like where you live, and then you need to like go to this room. Like we were precinct like 18 or something. And it's like, if you're 18, you need to go to room 226. And
How
so
big was this high school?
it's enormous. It's probably a 3,500 kid high school.
What?
It's enormous. Yeah, it's huge. It is huge. And it was so insanely busy inside. Like I've never seen anything like it. I can't believe how many people were there. It was nuts. It was also awesome. Like it was really cool to see that many people like involved in the process.
Yeah,
So it was really cool to see that. But we were, I mean, it was the type of thing where you're like bumping shoulders when you're walking through the school. So we eventually found our room. It of course was on the other end of the school from the entrance we went in because
naturally.
that's the way it would work, right? And when we got in there, we got in around 6, probably 10 to 7, maybe 5 to 7, and it was standing room only. Every desk, because it was a high school, they're all desks. All the desks were completely full of people, obviously. Um, People were standing all along the sides. Some people couldn't even like get in the room. So my wife and I came in, we sat down on the floor in front of a couple of desks. And Minnesota is a caucus state, but it's kind of like a fake caucus because you get in there and there's a little bit of conversation that happens when you first get in there. Um, Listener, if you don't live in a caucus state or if you don't know what that is, caucuses in general are where a group of people get together for a set period of time, maybe an hour. So, like from 7 to 8, this group of Democratic supporters get together in a room. Over that hour, they have the ability to talk to the other people in the room and possibly convince the people that haven't made up their mind yet as to which candidate they should vote for. And then at the end of the hour, they submit their vote. And then they go on, the votes are then counted, and then you go on your way. That's how like the standard caucus works. And in states like Iowa, they go stand in an area that is designated for their candidate. And there's an actual head count to determine how many people are voting on each individual candidate. In Minnesota, it's a paper ballot, but there still is that ability to like talk to people in your room. So like we still had the ability to talk to the people in the room, and we had like a local politician come in who was running for Congress, who kind of gave her spiel. I mean, it was a very political process, super political process. That being said, there were so many people in the school that they ran out of official ballots. And so they had these blue sheets of construction paper that they had cut up with a paper cutter with like just squares and then the candidate's name. And it's like, check this box, or check this box other, and then write in the candidate's name. And that was what we were voting with because like they ran out of the supplies that they were supposed to have. From what I understand, it was like record turnout, maybe in our district. I don't know if it was in like our state, but in our district, it was like record turnout. So we just, what ended up happening is for us, we stayed in there for about 20 minutes. We talked to a couple of people, and then we just submitted our vote. And then once you did that, unless you wanted to sit around and watch them count, you could leave. And that's what we did. We left after that.
Wow.
So that was our caucus experience, but it was really cool to see that many people in the political process. It was cool to see like when we walked in, there was, this woman had to be 65. She had a Bernie Sanders shirt on. And when the district leader was like reading through the instructions of the caucus, anytime he like mentioned Democrat something or liberal something, she's like cheering and screaming in the room. And it was just like people, there was a genuine enthusiasm for it, which was, I think maybe a little unexpected to me as somebody who's never been in the primary process before. Cause like, I don't know, when you go like cast your vote on voting day, it's you and the Lord in the voting booth, right? Like it's just, you're not talking to anybody about it. But like in the primary process, that's encouraged in a caucus. So like being able to share that kind of like-minded feel, because like ultimately you're probably voting with people that have similar views to you, even if they're maybe not voting as the same candidate, because you have to vote along a party line basically in the primary. And
Sure.
So it was just kind of cool to see that enthusiasm for, I guess, policies that you also agree with, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that's really cool and interesting.
There were also, it ran the gamut in terms of age and demographic in our primary. Like we had multiple races, majority white, because I live in a majority white city.
Sure.
But definitely most races were represented. Most of the common races in America, I would say, were represented. And then both genders pretty much equally represented. And then age groups ran across the entire line. There were very elderly people there. I would put them 70s, 80s. And then there were people still in high school. I mean, there were students at the high school who were going to be turning 18 by voting day that were there as well, that were caucusing.
Because
So
they're allowed to vote in the primaries.
exactly, because they're allowed to vote in the primaries if you're going to be 18 when you vote. And it was really cool. It was really cool.
That's awesome. That's really cool. So there were no like main speeches that were given by either.
Well, no, because you have to understand that like the way that these districts are set up. I mean, our room was standing room only, but there was still only like 60 people that were in there. So it's not like there was like a call to arms for a particular candidate or something. It was just like it was still a relatively small gathering. It was just in a even smaller room.
Yeah, that makes sense. Wow.
So
well, that's exciting.
10 out of 10.
I'm glad that
10 out of 10. I would do it again. It was really cool. It was fun. It was fun.
Well, that's really cool to hear. That's really cool to hear from you. I actually cast my vote today for Illinois. I voted early.
Do you guys do the absentee or you guys have the week early thing or whatever it is?
No, they have. I don't know. All I know is my girlfriend wanted to meet me up for lunch downtown, so I grabbed lunch with her, and we were right by some government buildings. And I knew because in Chicago, I know the government buildings, right? Like I know downtown. So I knew that we were at Daly Plaza, and I knew across the street there was a location that might have early voting or early registration or whatever. So I was registered. I have my card from the mail that says like, here's your polling place. It's the church a block north of me. Show up there on March 15th, cast your vote, blah, blah, blah. It was like, well, I mean, if I'm here, then why wake up at 6 a.m. to go vote before I go to work next Tuesday when I can just vote here? So I went and they had you can vote early here. And I gave him my name and info. And he goes, okay, sign this little form. And I signed my little form and walked in and they gave me a voter card and I just walked in and voted. Yeah, so my vote has been cast.
The earlier you vote generally is more beneficial to your candidate because they are able to tout those numbers ahead of time to influence the rest of the public who may be on the fence. So
are they?
Yeah, I think so. Maybe not. Maybe I just made that up.
No. Okay.
I guess actually maybe not. Maybe they can just count them. Maybe they just count them along with all of the rest of the votes at the end of the.
I would think they count them along with all the rest of the votes.
That's probably true.
So, but good try. I mean, you almost had me there for a minute.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, no, that didn't actually make any sense.
So yeah, whatever. So so I have voted. You have voted. That's really wonderful. My girlfriend has not voted because she's still registered in her home state, which doesn't vote until I don't even know when. Oh, excuse me, but not Illinois for sure. Is that? Delaware.
Okay.
Delaware. Do you know when the Delaware primary?
I know where Delaware is. I know it's a state.
Mm-hmm.
It's one of the D states. There's Delaware and then Ohio.
Mm-hmm. Texas.
And Texas.
Mm-hmm.
The Lone Star State.
Yeah. There is one star, and that's why they call it that. Because actually from Texas, you can only see one star in the sky, and that's the North Star, and that is how they discovered Canada, is by following it.
Right.
That's
Right, but you have to be careful of the others at the northern border of the United States. Like, that's what the wall is there for.
Mm-hmm. 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 Yeah, got to keep out Terrence and Phillip. I will say that it was one of the highlights of my week was listening to the first episode of Game Life Balance Australia, our sister show.
They did have their first episode, didn't they?
They did, which you can find at GameLifeBalanceAustralia.com. And they try to not discuss, but they kind of discuss U.S. politics a little bit And
From the perspective of somebody who does not live in the U.S.,
from the perspective of two Australians, and it's hilarious.
You're saying they nail it.
They nail it. They
Perfect.
absolutely nail it. Also, they apparently both read the article that I wrote for Huffington Post. So these guys are awesome, and they discussed.
I mean, that was at like a 5th grade reading level, so that makes sense.
I do write at a 5th grade reading level, so yeah. But that's pretty funny. I think they may both have government jobs, because they've mentioned a couple times on their podcast that they can't make any statements about their government at all, I guess, or something along those lines. So
that's super interesting, actually.
Yeah. But I'm not
value our free speech.
But I'm not sure if that's paranoia, or if they have really high up government jobs, or if they work for a candidate or something.
Is one of them the president?
I think Australia has a prime minister.
Is one of them the prime president?
I think one of them may be the prime minister. If I had to guess.
That's incredible. I would think we would maybe have more followers if we were in fact tied to the prime minister of Australia, but you never know. I don't know how popular of a country Australia is.
I'm also not sure how big American lifestyle podcasts are in.
They're huge. Everybody knows that.
Well, that's good. Well, and of course, you just had to mention. We just had a night to talk about caucuses and primaries, because the Michigan primary is tonight as we record this episode, which will the Michigan primaries will have been done and all reported by the end or whatever. So now I'm, of course, frantically checking results, because it's a very, very, very closely contested state between Hillary Clinton and Bernie Sanders. And while it still is really not at the point where any state is a make or break the election.
It's an important one.
It's an important one because they have a lot of delegates. They have 130 delegates. You need 2,000 something to get to the convention. They'll probably split them 60-70 or something similar. No one's going to run away with a huge victory here. But Bernie Sanders needs to have an edge and win, quote unquote, some of these states in order to catch up to Clinton's number of delegates. So it is and it isn't important. I don't know. It's from what I've read, it's really the race, quote unquote, starts after the 15th. I don't know what that means or why, but
I think because the 15th is when some of the big states vote. Like Florida votes on the 15th. I think Ohio votes on the 15th, and those are, I think, in presidential elections, those are both traditionally swing states. And so they also help kind of direct what that election is going to look like.
Sure.
And so I think that and they're also winner take all states in terms of delegates for Republicans. And so that's a really big deal for them as well. I don't think for Democrats. I don't know if any states work that way for Democrats. So yeah, I mean, I know that those are very important, at least on the Republican side.
It's an incredibly complicated process. So if you're listening to this and you're in Australia, rest assured that John and I probably know even more than the average American, and we know very little about this process. I mean, I would say we probably know more than the average, don't you think?
I know why I said it makes sense that different states go at different times. It's so that the candidates can actually spend time campaigning in the individual states. Because otherwise, there are some states that would never get a chance to see them. It's the same criticism that happens when you talk about the Electoral College in the presidential election. There are some states that, like, Texas is never going to see the Republican candidate because Texas always goes Republican. Texas isn't going to see anybody. Like, they always go Republican. So the state of Texas will never get to see the presidential candidates. They spend all of their time in Ohio. They spend all of their time in Florida. So that's the reason why the primaries are set up the way that they are, so that the candidates actually have the opportunity to go to the states to meet the people of the states.
Sure. Although, to be fair, isn't South Carolina always a Republican state as well?
Maybe, but they still have the ability to vote for both parties in terms of the primary. Even if it goes Republican every time, the Democrats there still get a voice in who they want their candidate to be.
Yeah, no, but you just said Texas never sees them.
in the presidential election. So like for the
Oh,
election in
okay.
November, once we get our candidates set, there are states like Texas, like Arkansas, like Louisiana. Well, no, Louisiana I think has gone blue before. Like Texas, like Arkansas, like Mississippi. They will never they'll never see the presidential candidates that are there because they are generally considered they're gonna go red, right?
Hmm.
Just like New York's gonna go blue. So they're never gonna see any candidates in New York.
Yeah, it makes sense. Illinois will go blue, et cetera, et
Exactly.
cetera.
So that's why the primaries are set up as they are.
Okay.
I knew there
Well,
was a reason. I was drinking, and that's what happens.
drinking is what happens
It's,
all the time.
it's what I always
On
say.
this episode of Game Life Balance US.
Yeah.
Cool.
So that was our presidential minute. When are we going to be done talking about politics? I'm already tired of it.
This was interesting. You participated in a process and then described it. We're not getting political. We're not talking. Well, I mean, we're not talking about issues that candidates are standing for. We're not arguing like the merits or pitfalls of Bernie versus Hillary or Trump versus Rubio right now. We're just talking about a process. I mean,
I will say my wife and I's vote canceled each other out, so it didn't really matter. But it was still, and we knew that going in. It's not like that was an unknown to us. We talk. We're married. We converse frequently. So we knew who we were voting for, but we wanted to do it.
I'm glad you did. I think it matters, and it matters to show our country's leaders that people are at least voting and participating, especially young people, young millennials. Oh, the millennials always let down the politicians. The millennials never vote. I don't know. Every millennial I know has voted.
Yeah, that's it's certainly in Minnesota too. I mean, we had young people set a record around here for the number of young people that voted in the primary, and I imagine the presidential election will probably be the same this year.
We'll see. I'm not sure. It surprises me how far fewer people are voting in this election than the 2008. Was it 2008 or 2012?
2012 primaries. Is that what you're talking about?
Maybe I'm misspeaking then. I keep hearing that fewer people are showing up than in the 2000X.
It was probably 8 because I don't know if anybody ran against Barack in 2012. So it was probably 2008 when it was an open election.
Yeah, they're probably saying 2008. Never mind. That makes sense then. I understand why people came out. Well, anyway, that was exciting. Let's talk about like arts. Let's be artsy and non-political, apolitical as it were.
Oh, that's so boring. I don't like art.
You don't. And yet we're going to delve into life stuff.
Okay, what art are you going to tell me about?
I saw last Thursday, my girlfriend gets home, we make some dinner and we're enjoying our meal together, and she goes, so what do you want to do tonight?
Is cooking art? Are video games art?
What?
We're talking about art. I'm wondering.
I'm not there yet. I'm getting there.
Is cooking art?
So
it could be an art, couldn't it?
We're eating there, and she goes, what are we doing today? And I go, we're going to the show that you bought tickets for. And she's just like, oh, that was tonight. I don't look at our calendar ever. So nice. Fortunately, like, I mean, I knew what time it was. We still had time to get ready and everything. But she was taken unawares about the fact that we were to be going to a performance. And we were going to a show called The Man Who Murdered Sherlock Holmes, or The Man Who Killed Sherlock Holmes.
Wait, is Sherlock Holmes dead?
The Man Who... Hold on. I'm not sure. Well, I hope so. He was born in the 1800s. He's not a vampire.
I don't think Sherlock Holmes is real.
It was The Man Who Murdered Sherlock at the Mercury Theater.
Actually, Sherlock Holmes is not a real person.
Actually, that's what this...
He could be dead.
That's what this thing was about. So we go to the Mercury Theater, which is this tiny theater I didn't even know existed. That's 2 doors down from the Music Box Theater, which is an old movie theater. It's where I saw The Hateful Eight in 70 millimeter. They're doing a 70 millimeter film fest there right now. They're showing 2001: A Space Odyssey, which
you should go see that.
If I had any new drugs that I've not tried before, like magic mushrooms or something, I'd be really tempted.
You don't have to be on drugs when you see it. You just, I would read about it. and then go see it.
I know all about it. I watched it with my girlfriend 6 months ago.
It's fantastic.
It's fantastic when you're on drugs, I would
Okay.
imagine.
Okay.
I can neither confirm nor deny
We
that I
can
would
all agree on
know
that.
this from fact. I'm going to do our podcast in 3 weeks, high out of my mind, by the way, because I'm going to be in Colorado. And that's what people do in Colorado. They get real high because it's legal there.
What do you do
And
in
I can
Colorado?
say that. I didn't break a law.
What are you doing in Colorado?
Word. Taking a break. A spring break. Spring
You go to
breakers.
spring break in Colorado?
Remix. I didn't tell you this?
No.
Well, because we don't talk anymore because Mr. Manager at work is on the G chat as
That's
much.
cool. Are you going to visit Logan?
Kind of, yeah. So Casey's got a week off for spring break, and I wanted to do something kind of outdoorsy because we don't get to here. And I originally really wanted to go to Utah and go hiking in their national parks, which are awesome. But everything we looked at was too expensive. And then I was just like, you know what? We know everybody. We know tons of people in Denver. So
Really?
let's go. Yeah. Well, my cousin Alex is there.
Oh, sure.
And his sister Stephanie just moved there, who also happens to be my cousin. Small world. And Logan, one of our really good friends. And I guess Logan's got some extra room, so we're actually going to stay with him. And we have a car rented, but we're going to go check out Boulder, and we'll go see Alex. We're going hiking with Alex for a day. It's his birthday that week. And I'm sure I know a couple other people there too that we might see. But yeah, we're just going to be a week in Denver, do a little hiking. Just get high every day because it's all people in Colorado do all the time in Denver. So yeah, because marijuana is legal in Denver. Did you know that?
You killed Sherlock Holmes?
What?
Is that what this is about? You killed Sherlock Holmes?
No. Why did Denver come up? Oh,
Who knows?
That was I don't know how we got there.
What a tangent.
So we end up at this show. Music Box 2001, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, we're in this small theater, the Mercury Theater, and it's called The Man Who Murdered Sherlock Holmes. And we're like, great. And it's this cute, old theater, really cute, small Chicago theater, really comfy seats. That's a weird thing to say, but they were really comfy. And regular, auditoriums, movie theater, or theater style seating, but really comfortable. And we sit there, and 5 minutes in, she didn't know this, but it was a musical. So she not only forgot that we were going to the show, which was hilarious, but also she didn't know it was a musical,
Awesome.
which was more hilarious. And I love musicals.
Oh, yeah.
Let me rephrase that. I love musicals.
Okay.
Because I'm a teenage girl. And she does not always. So it took her a couple numbers to adapt, but I was really into it.
A couple numbers.
And the premise is Sir Arthur Conan Doyle kills Sherlock Holmes in one of his stories. And apparently this really happened. So you don't know anything about Sherlock Holmes, pretty much.
I know a little bit.
I mean, like 221B Baker Street. Have you read any Sherlock Holmes?
No. I've only seen him portrayed in various works of fiction.
Benedict Cumberbatch.
Movies.
You're a Cumberbitch, aren't you?
Who's that?
You're a Cumberbitch.
What's a Cumberbitch?
Female fans of Benedict Cumberbatch that want to have sex with him.
I'm not female.
You are so young and precious.
Boy, I am. I didn't know this was a thing. Wait, is he Sherlock?
He's Spock.
I know. No, wait, that's Zachary Quato.
Oh, it is, isn't it?
Yeah.
I meant he's Khan.
Yes, I know. I know who he is. I'm not saying I don't know who Benedict Cumberbatch is. Is he also Sherlock?
He played Sherlock in the BBC. He plays Sherlock in the BBC series Sherlock, which is a very
really
good
show.
series.
I've heard it's excellent. I haven't watched it. That's why I don't know what a Cumberbitch is. Okay.
Okay.
Now
see, I'm bilingual. I can get it. Our Australian.
I see. So you understand English and American.
No, I understand English. Yes, like our Australian colleagues can understand English.
English.
I speak Australian, so I could understand their podcast. I know you're not bilingual, so if you listen to their podcast,
trilingual?
Technically, yes. I speak English, American, and Australian.
Wow.
Yeah, it's a challenge.
That's impressive.
Yeah.
Sometimes I eat Asian food.
Actually, I was told on Twitter that I need to say something Australian in this episode, and now I need to find that. But while I'm looking for this tweet, I'll continue. So, why did I mention? Okay, so you don't know a ton about Sherlock Holmes. Neither do I. I've read one or two of his stories. They were, 8 out of 10, I guess. No, they were good. And in one of Sir Arthur Conan Doyle's stories, he kills Sherlock Holmes. And in the opening scene of this musical, it's all these people are walking around the streets and they're all furious and, you can't kill Sherlock Holmes. Oh my gosh, we're going to basically grab pitchforks and attack you. And I guess this happened in real life.
Are we in the real world, or are we in the world of Sherlock Holmes right now?
Well, it's the author, Sir Arthur Conan Doyle. So
right.
We're in the real world.
Got it. Okay, so people are upset at Sir Arthur Conan Doyle right now.
Yes.
Got it. Okay, now I'm with you.
And this, and apparently, and like people are literally grabbing pitchforks and basically pretty kind of want to kill him because he killed Sherlock Holmes. And I guess this happened in real life. This was a thing. Like this actually occurred, that people were completely outraged and furious that he killed off this fictional character.
So what you're saying is that's proof that fandom for specific products has run deep for hundreds of years. Because
apparently,
there are people that would kill other people for their fictional characters in our lives right now. So yes, no, it's good to know that that's always been that way.
It actually provoked what I thought was an interesting discussion between my girlfriend and me regarding kind of ownership of fictional characters. Did you ever see The People versus George Lucas, for example?
No.
Okay, really great documentary, and it's about it delves into kind of the mythology behind Star Wars and how angry the fans were after the prequels, and it gets into this idea of who owns the characters. Once Star Wars kind of enters a mythology and becomes part of someone's lives and almost part of a cultural identity, then it's almost like it is argued in the documentary that it's almost like the creator loses some of that ownership, or maybe a better word would be relinquishes some of that ownership to the general public or to a more like broad ownership. So it's really interesting documentary. So go watch. You should check it out. You'd find it interesting. It's just George Lucas isn't even interviewed in it, of course, but it's basically about like kind of the same thing. Basically, people pissed at George Lucas for ruining Star Wars or destroying Star Wars, and saying Han shot first changes my entire concept of this fiction and of this character and all that. And then anyway, Arthur Conan Doyle dealt with this. So yes, for hundreds of years, people have gotten unreasonably furious when something happens to a fictional character. So and then it goes from there, and it ends up becoming a murder mystery, and Sherlock Holmes himself is a character in it, and it turns out that Sherlock Holmes is a real character from a parallel world that actually talks to Arthur Conan Doyle and dictates his own stories to him. But when Arthur Conan Doyle decided to kill Sherlock Holmes, he went off book and wasn't listening, and he just went like rogue and wrote his own story. So Sherlock Holmes shows up in this like apparition and basically says like, you can't do that. Yeah, and then he helps him solve the case because, of course, it is cute. It was really good and it was really fun. But I thought it was interesting, and it kind of sparked that conversation of which, I mean, the most interesting part to me was sparking that conversation of, yeah, at what point does a character kind of become the audience's almost? And some would argue never, others wouldn't.
I don't know what I would argue. I don't think I would argue. I'm not an arguer.
It's a philosophical discussion meant for really, really intelligent people.
I don't argue. I like to keep the peace.
Really intelligent people?
I think that the author both relinquishes control and doesn't relinquish control. Huh? Now we're all happy.
So it's the kind of discussion that really intelligent people would have. I'm not sure if I said that already or not.
I like pictures.
So speaking of pictures, this actually has nothing to do with pictures whatsoever, but I found that tweet that I was talking about from a week ago Apparently, I'm supposed to say "G'day, mate," and that makes me sound Australian. So "G'day, mate," but I think I'm supposed to say it more Australian-ish.
I mean, you did say that you spoke 3 languages: Australian, English, and American.
I
So,
have to come clean about something.
and I believed you.
I have to come clean about something that you can corroborate.
Okay.
Anytime I try to speak British or Australian or any variation thereof, even remotely, I immediately deteriorate into Cockney.
You do every time. That's actually 100%. It's 100% true.
I'm telling you, this is
Now your
So-
now your Cockney is excellent.
right. It's the only dialect I have. So I mean, I could say like "Good day, mate," but then if I tried to continue the sentence, it would be something like "Good day, mate. I'd like to put a shrimp on the barbie."
Yeah.
It's really bad.
Yeah, every time. I don't know.
Really bad. I would love to hear our Australian colleagues. Are they colleagues? I don't know what they are. I don't know what our relationship is.
I don't either. It's complicated. It's complicated.
It's that's our Facebook relationship. Is it's complicated. I like that. Yeah. Well, I would love to hear them do an American accent. I hope it includes guns because I'm sure that's a thing that would happen.
I mean, I think that's the general perception of America. So,
because my girlfriend and I did notice while watching Doctor Who, anytime there were Americans, it was always in a military context. They always had guns. Every single time, without fail, the Americans had guns, and they were always really gruff.
Yeah.
This country, I don't know. Man.
Do they have beards? They all have beards. They did, didn't they?
In America? No, they didn't always show us Americans with beards. God knows there's none on this podcast. That'd be weird.
Yeah, it would be.
Anyway, so that's what I did this week. So that was kind of fun. So next week I'll get a little bit into Twilight Princess HD, which I just got, which I'm excited to be playing.
Cool.
And
we might talk about an actual game. We might go full gamer next week.
Yeah, we might get, for a podcast that has a game life balance. The last couple of weeks have been very lifey. I think next week may be gamey, but we'll see. I don't know. Yeah. Something could happen that could be exciting. I don't know.
Cool.
I never really do. I'm going to Madison this weekend to play board games. You're coming to Chicago to play board games this weekend, so that's weird.
Are you actually going to Madison?
Yeah.
Oh, well, it actually worked out really well.
Yeah, I know. You get to be in my area while I leave.
Yeah, that's perfect.
Yeah.
Board games are all right.
Board games are pretty all right. Although
I'm sure I'll have a lot to talk about next week when I talk about my trip to Chicago. Yeah,
we'll talk stuff. So in some games and whatever. But in the meantime, for people that do want their nerdy fix / no, I guess that's pretty much what I meant. Pretty much what I meant. Well, yeah, we are members of the Gonna Geek Network. And actually, before I talk about the Gonna, well, this is part of. Let me say something. Can I say something? Is it all right? Can I say something?
Yep.
Can I say something right now?
I want you to say
on Friday, March 18th. Why does this promo say "do not read after March 31st"? The panel is on March 18th. So, I'm telling you, these amateurs. On Friday, March 18th, at C2E2, the Chicago Comic and Entertainment Expo, Gonna Geek Network is going to present a podcasting panel called Everyday Podcasting for Your Everyday Life. Actually, Gonna Geek Network presents Everyday Podcasting for Your Everyday Life. I'm going to be on that panel. So that's really cool, along with other members of the Gonna Geek Network.
Wow.
The list of names is not in front of me, so I won't try to remember them all, because if I forget one, then I'll get a lot of crap for it. But I will be one of the people. That's all you really need to know to keep you away. But there will be 4 or 5 other people, which is all you should need to get you into it. So if you're listening and you ever consider podcasting, this is the panel to go to. So on this special panel, members of the network from all across the country, quite literally, will share their secrets of podcasting, including all the challenges involved and how it affects their day-to-day lives. And if you're interested in podcasting, whether you're a casual or professional, then this is one panel you definitely don't want to miss. So join the Gonna Geek Network at C2E2, the Chicago Comic and Entertainment Expo, on Friday, March 18th. And that's a very exciting piece of news for the network, of which we are a part, And it is a shame that it would have been cool if you just happened to have next Friday off and we're coming in that weekend, but here we are.
Here we are.
Oh, wait, because next weekend you'll be getting drunk for St. Patrick's Day.
That doesn't happen that much around here. That's not true. Everybody gets drunk for St. Patrick's Day now. That's like the thing you do.
That's probably true.
What else? I started running again. That sucks. I really like it.
You started running?
Yeah. Like, I really like it, but it also sucks, doesn't it?
No, running sucks. Nothing is fun about running.
Yeah, you ran for a while. Like, I honestly
ran
really
cross country for 4 years. It was terrible.
Sucks. Oh, also the other thing we did was we set up MartinCon. So, listener, be prepared for a large discussion about that in May. I got a lot of people coming to my house in May to do some fun stuff. So, probably see a live episode. I would think probably we'll do a live episode then.
That would be cool.
Yeah.
That'd be really cool. So yeah. So let's look forward to. And if you want to get more of a geeky fix on the Gonna Geek Network this week, you can check out Tyrion's Landing. Episode 96 is out. And in the latest episode of Tyrion's Landing, Jeannie and Nikki discuss their theories of what the first full Game of Thrones trailer means. And that's on episode 96, trailer time of Tyrion's Landing. You can check out gonnageek.com to find Tyrion's Landing and lots of other cool podcasts, geeky podcasts. Am I allowed to say cool if they're geeky? Or are they cool because they're geeky?
I don't actually know.
I'm not sure either. Are you excited about the new Game of Thrones?
I honestly don't watch, like, Casey and I watched the first season of it and then haven't watched it since.
So are you worried that it'll be ruined for you? Because you read them, as do I. I feel obligated to watch the show so that
I think I'm okay with just being part of the book's story. Like, whatever story that is, I think that's the one I want to follow, I think.
They're pretty similar.
I know. We watched the first season. I agree, but I think I want the books to be the Game of Thrones for me, because those will always be the Game of Thrones for me.
But what if you hear at the end of next season something like, I don't know, oh, Daenerys came to Westeros and killed all of the Lannisters?
I don't know if I'm going to hear that. And if I do, it's still okay. I'll still be able to read the books and enjoy them, I'm sure.
You're a different person than me. You're not me.
This is true. And thank God.
Yeah, there can only be one really tall, attractive sex between us. If I may say so.
I think this is the part of the show where I say, thank you for listening to the Game Life Balance US podcast, the American edition of the Game Life Balance podcast. Please like, share, and subscribe if you enjoyed this episode, and leave us a review if you really want to make our day. You can find us at Gonna Geek Network at gonnageek.com, or on the official podcast network of Chicago's WGN Radio at WGNplus.com.
Gonna Geek.
Learn more about Game Life Balance, including contact information and links to our sister show in Australia at gamelifebalance.us.
Australia, our governor. God,
they don't say governor, I don't think. It's...
Oh, that's it. I thought you had more to read.
I got nothing else. Just listen to you say governor. Holy crap.